Welcome back to Vision on TV. We're at the Rebellious Media Conference and we have two more really interesting people to interview. Can you introduce yourselves?
My name is Rotimi. I'm from Peckham, South London. I'm a poet and I'm currently studying architecture at the University for Creative Arts.
Hi, my name's Selina. I'm a poet and writer and I'm a part of Shake, which is merging arts and activism, and we're speaking today at the Rebellious Media Conference.
Can you tell us about your session, what you actually talked about and the issues you covered?
Basically in the session we spoke about how the media kind of demonized us, especially black young males, especially how they demonized us and then we're underrepresented. And how borderline racist comments, just ignorance on the media, and how they portray us, and how they didn't really actually come in touch with young people and actually spoke to us what we actually think and what we got to say, and how we're kind of stigmatized, and now they make it sound like it was just random act of violence, like nothing ever built up towards it. So we're just speaking about causes and reasons and other ideas from what happened.
Something that really interesting that came out of the riots as well is the term riots. Should they be called riots? Also, it's given this global term, whereas the uprising or riots that happened in Tottenham was not for the same reasons that it happened in Manchester, for example. And I think there's been this gloss over term for ease of simplicity or ignorance that has meant that they've been clumped into one kind of identical kind of reference. So that was something that was really interesting.
So, in the UK, I think Winston Churchill said that social change only happens when there's rioting in the streets. And, that's the way you change society. This is a Conservative Prime Minister who said this. So, I think riots do have a role in society. Do you feel, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, it's true, but if you're like a rebel without a cause, it's not really the same thing. If you're rioting for a reason, a real reason, everyone knows, it is better. But if you're having people doing copycats or opportunists, and they fully don't understand, obviously you can tell that people are not happy because happy people won't riot. It's just basically how it is, isn't it? So there's a deep problem within society, but the reason why people riot is different reasons, So if you're like a rebel without a cause, a riot with no purpose, no reason, it's just damaging to the actual society itself.
I think riots obviously do have a function, but it's a signal of a deeper problem that I don't think the mainstream media or the government have actually really got to the bottom of. And I think that a riot in a violent nature is the last resort in a sense, and so for it to be kind of termed criminality pure and simple was the line, I think again is a little bit ignorant. So. Yeah.
Because it's the voice of the voiceless. So can you tell us some of these issues, some of this voicelessness? What are people needing that they don't have that actually causes this outburst of speaking, really, but speaking by physical damage and nihilism?
I think what we need is that, honestly, as a lot of people, different ethnic groups, different backgrounds, different classes, people would actually feel like they're integrated in society, because if people are writing they've got nothing to lose in it, so obviously you can say that people that actually feel part of the actual community, people are trashing their own stores in their own area, and for someone to do that, you're thinking to yourself, they don't really feel connected to the actual area itself. So I think people actually need to reach out and become more social, actually reach out and actually want to, when you just see somebody say good morning, you don't have to walk past them, act like you didn't see them or whatnot, just to and all that. People actually want to be part of a group. People want to be identified with something. So obviously you need to give people an identity and a common, something that you can share in common and whatnot, bring them together.
And I just think, think of what young people have as an outlet. Youth unemployment is 1 in 5. It's more for certain demographics. The level of frustration and the lack of outlet, again, is just a complete conflict, and it was obviously going to boil over. I find it very interesting that academics weren't surprised by this. It was a matter of when. So I think giving youth an outlet, recognising their voices, the positive influences that youth have, good schooling, youth facilities are in decline, and yet these images of consumerism and all the things to strive for are in abundance, but we have no means of attaining them. So I think really just being honest with young people and providing them with opportunities is key. Really.
Also, one thing I want to add on is that there was a lot of young people writing, but at the same time, I saw those big men and big women, people with children and whatnot, that are actually part of the actual actual chaos during that week in August. So obviously you have to actually readdress that. It's not just, you can't just simplify the problem to say it's just the youth, that the youth have got issues and whatnot. There's a problem with society and the whole on it. So I need to actually readdress the problem from the grassroots, from the beginning.
So how do you feel the media covered these issues?
Depends what media you're talking about. If you're talking about like BBC and Fox News, I think they did a terrible job. Because me, I'm only 18 years old. I was 17 at the time. No, I lied. I was 18 because my birthday's July. I was 18. And for me to like know stuff before it even starts via Twitter and BBM and whatnot, and then they're trying to tell me the media's like taking like a good hour before they actually realise that something has kicked off in this area. I think it was like a poor coverage. And when they did want to cover it, they were bringing people that are not from the area to comment and just talk a lot of talk a lot of rubbish. And basically, it's like they can't really connect to the people there. So they're just making it seem like they're demons on the street, criminality or chaos. It's like they already got an agenda from the get-go, so they wasn't going to be swayed and whatnot. And especially when they brought on when they did an interview with the youths in Lucian, not in the Thames, right? They made them look like, hooded up, balaclava and whatnot, trying to reinforce the stereotype that we're just some ignorant people that just wants to do. They couldn't just voiceover, show them doing something normal. Why couldn't they have to be master? Why do they have to feel like they have to be scared of the TV, be scared of the police? So you can just that alone show that there's fear and whatnot, and they're just trying to incite fear within the community.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think it's really one-dimensional. In our session, we ran through the different words that we'd seen in the media, and it was things like thuggery, feral rats, underclass, all of these things. I've not seen anything that presents a different story, and I feel like this depiction that's happened in the media is really like putting a plaster over a gaping wound, and it's worrying because this will happen again if this is the only way that we're going to label it. So we had like a clip, I think it was by Sky, and they actually interviewed a few people. You're right about the fact that they did show them covered, and it was obviously perpetuating this image that we've seen. But what they had to say was really interesting in the sense that they were like, we get dressed up, we ask our parents for smart clothes, and we go and we give out our CVs and we don't get anything back. So it gives out the signal that to get noticed we have to do things a different way, and that's not a perspective that we've seen or that I've seen in the mainstream media.
And I can tell you right now, like the CV thing, I know people that I've seen actually heard stores, known people in my area that actually attacked stores that they bought the CV to and couldn't get a job in. So you can see that there's actual frustration. Some people aren't just actually writing to stores. Some people actually targeting stores that they've tried their best to actually work at and never actually got the opportunity. And also like the borderline racism that was on TV a lot was just emotional. For instance, she had this they said anti-rioters in Eltham, and I got a cousin who's in Eltham, and the people recording Eltham, they're screaming out racist slants and chanting EDO and whatnot. And then on Sky News and BBC are trying to say they're protecting the community, but obviously they would actually instigate like a racial, turn into like a racial issue when it clearly wasn't, because they're so diverse, the rioters. And there was even attacks in there was in Lucian, random attacks, and no one actually wanted to report. Like my uncle's friend actually got attacked by some EDL people and NFs. And no one wanted to report that. It's like it didn't exist on the TV screen, so they were very selective on what they were choosing and whatnot. And also you can see everyone was like unheard. There's a lot of unheard people in the area.
So, have you thought about making your own media? In these modern days with technology like this studio here, you can actually bypass all this corporate media and do it yourself.
Well, funny you should say. I'm a poet, and I wrote a poem called Britain on Trial. And in this poem I aim to challenge different aspects of British society. But within a poem I realised that there's so much more to talk about. So I've started a collaborative project, which is britainontrial.wordpress.com, and it aims to challenge an unjust aspect of British society through a variety of mediums, so poetry, photography, essays, articles, really any kind of medium. And I think, now more than ever, it's time for us to take some power to let our voices be heard. So I think doing things like that and working with other people and developing a network is really imperative, and that's why it's really good to be here.
And even with Voices That Shake, we've got our own publications, we've got DVDs, we've got recordings of our poems and whatnot. We've got like teasers, we've got websites, we've even got Twitter and Facebook. So we're doing our part. It's not like we're not complaining and doing nothing about it. I'm not that guy that will just sit down and say, oh, they're taking away everything, and I just sit in my house and just don't do nothing. We're actually putting out, and even at my university, I've even started the student radio. So obviously I'm getting myself across. I'm not gonna sit and lay back and say that we can't do nothing about it and then just moan and complain. I'm not no old man. Like, my time's now. I'm still got my energy. I'm still gonna do something. So obviously, there's loads of youths that are like us. But it's like again, the unheard. You don't really get to see their point of view. They're just sitting there. Don't really get the right coverage. They don't have the right links and whatnot. So it's kind of hard for them to come.
All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks very much. We're actually going to ask them for a poem. So look out on Vision on TV for some poetry.